First of all, I get emotional every
Yeah.
time I see that. That was crazy. And all I can say, and this may sound really strange to some other people, but I think I manifested that. I have written down that I was gonna be on Oprah in my book, my journal, a while, and then I dreamed I was walking out in the Harpo Studios. How it came about, ironically, I don't check my DMs very often anymore because I get so many messages. And it's not that I don't want to address all of them, but I had to start protecting my mental well-being and just not absorb so much of that all the time. Um, and they had sent me a direct message. I totally missed it because I hadn't checked it. And then under one of my other posts, under another clip, one of the producers was like, "Hey, Kendall, I sent you a DM. I want to know if you'd be interested in going to Oprah." And I was like, "Who is this?"
This is Unknown to Known, an on-cam ready presentation. I'm Jamie Maglietta. I want to start with a question. What does it take to speak the truth that no one else will say out loud? Not in polite company, not in church, not even in therapy. My guest today built an entire community around those exact truths. She's the founder of Mom's True Tea, a platform that has become a lifeline for mothers navigating estrangement, emotional trauma, parental abuse, and the painful process of reclaiming who you are after a family breaks down. She's not just a voice in the room, she's the voice that the room fills up to hear, that rooms have been waiting for. We know each other from the podcasting community in Atlanta, and recently we bumped into each other at the airport. It was so awesome to see her. I got to see her talk as well at Mom 2.0. Today's guest is Kendall L. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I just pulled up her Instagram where she has over 107 followers as of this recording. She's a great way of interacting with her audience. She'll start off being like, "Come here, let me tell you something." And I think that's so engaging in the scroll. And clearly, she has the audience and the engagement supporting her commentary and her point of view. And not just on Instagram. USA Today just featured her. Mother's Day isn't always a celebration, was the headline. She did a reel on this and showed the picture on her Instagram. Here is the photo of her cover story. I also pulled up the article on USA Today. Kendall Williams, 53, won't be seeing her youngest son this Mother's Day, but that's nothing new, was the lead line in. And she talks about this constantly on her social media feed. As you can see, here's her photo. The article goes in depth as to, why this is the case. And we'll talk about that with her on this episode of Unknown to Known. She also
Okay.
opened up about this on Oprah. Check this out.
I've been no contact with my 30-year-old son for 2 years.
By your choice.
By choice.
Okay.
Wow. She is on a journey from unknown to known and has become very known within her niche. And if you're struggling to figure out how to become more known within yours, I want you to do something for yourself today. Download my visibility bundle. There's a link within the description. It's free. It's a camera ready checklist to help you show up more confidently on social media, on podcasts, on television. It also includes a link to my go-to equipment on Amazon, and it has a media audit. So if you are about to pitch the press, I suggest you go through that media audit before you do so. I know it's a PDF and folks don't like to download PDFs, but this one's good. And if you decide that you need more, book a free call with me. I'm happy to help you on your journey from unknown to known. Both links are in the show notes, as well as everything you need to know about Kendall. And if this podcast is giving you what you need, do me a favor and follow us on your podcasting platform of choice or share it with a friend. And find us on YouTube. I offer so much more on YouTube. And if you're watching there, I hope you'll subscribe. I have tutorials as well as my Think Like a Producer media training series. So join us there on YouTube. Kendall, before Mom's True Tea, before Oprah, before USA Today, who were you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm still, it's not who was I? It's I'm still Kendall L. Williams. I'm
Mhm.
still Kendall L. Williams. I'm still a mom, a nana, a wife, a businesswoman, an author, and was a podcaster before I even stepped in front of the camera. So I'm still me. I'm still
Mhm.
me, but I've always been very open and honest about my journey, no matter what it was.
And, take us back, before anyone was listening.
Yeah.
Research shows, about 72% of people who become advocates for a cause do so from like lived pain, not
Yeah.
not professional curiosity. So what made you decide I'm going to show up and be transparent about what's going on in my life?
Well, again, I've always been very transparent about my journey as a mother. I've never held back on it. I've always said motherhood is the hardest hood and the toughest hood that you could live in. I've always been completely honest about how it impacts our mental well-being, even when some of my friends either they didn't have kids at the time or they had younger kids or they had just had babies and I was dealing with teenagers. So we could not relate in those experiences at the time. So I've always been very open and honest about how I felt about loving my kids and loving being a mom, but at the same time, the struggles that came along with it, especially being a single young mom at the time initially, and then getting married and divorced, and now being a single mom and a single divorced mom. So
Mhm.
those are all the things that have always been very open and honest about. And my advocacy did come from a place of pain. It came from my experiences and it just propelled me into my purpose. I've done so many things from a business perspective. I've done so many things that I'm passionate about. I've always been an advocate for women. I've always been an advocate for speaking to teenage girls about pregnancy and et cetera. But this really propelled me. My experience with my son, and I know we're going to get into it a little bit later, having to make a very hard decision to go no contact with my 30-year-old son. And I have two sons, 30 and 35, making that very, very difficult decision. It just catapulted me in addition to being diagnosed with cervical cancer around the same time that I made that decision. And in that moment, based on the behaviors that I had been dealing with and based on my health at the time, I had to really take into consideration my own well being.
Yeah.
And I think that really pushed me even more forward towards becoming a lot more vocal about this
And
for
it's all about asking those questions like, is this right for me?
right.
Because we're always asking, what can I do for my kids?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's not.
we always put our children first. Women have been programmed to do that. And anytime we deviate from the program, it becomes an issue, or you're the problem, or somehow it's your fault, or somehow you failed. And I'm trying to break that stigma away from one, that mothers deserve to speak out about their experiences.
Mhm.
They should be able to be free to be vocal about their mental well being as it relates to motherhood, because it does have an impact on our mental wellness and our mental well being. And I don't think we even consider that because we're always thinking about everybody else's mental well being. So that
Mhm.
is really what has propelled me and kept me passionate about doing what I'm doing right now.
And you mentioned cervical cancer. So some people are probably wondering how are you now? So why don't you just update us on where everything is?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer in 2022. I went through chemo, I went through radiation daily, chemo every week. I had two tandem ovoid procedures, were the most barbaric procedures. A man had to create them. There's no way a woman did. And if she did, she is a sociopath or a psychopath. Because literally, those two procedures were extremely traumatic, not only physically, but also mentally what I endured during that time period having those surgeries. So currently I am in remission as of 2024 and I'm extremely grateful for that. And I've never said that I had cancer. That's one thing I never said. I'm very cautious about what I speak over myself because I believe words do have spells. And I never said I had cancer. I always said that this was his diagnosis and that I had to go through it and that it did not belong to me, therefore it could not remain. And that's how
Mm.
I really got through it and with the support of my amazing, amazing husband.
Yeah, and guys, I've met her husband, he is amazing. So we have this Atlanta, podcast community where we've connected there a few times, then we bumped into each other at
Yeah,
airport and mom too.
yeah,
He's such a sweetie.
really is. I'm
You're
grateful.
very lucky.
I'm very grateful.
It reminds me of something, story of my own life. It's called call it dipping to black.
Okay.
So in television, you have this moment of everything's going chaotic or it's breaking news or the screen dips to black. And
Mm,
you're sitting there in the control room like, "What do I do?" And
right.
everyone turns to you and says, "Where are we going? What are we doing now? This fix this," essentially. Phones are call it's chaos. And as the producer, you always have to say, "What do I have?" And what do I have is where you're gonna go. And
Right.
in your instance, it seems like you did something very similar. It's like, "What do I have? I have a diagnosis,
Mhm.
and we're gonna produce this the way I'm producing it."
Mhm.
And when I had my own dip to black moment, it's like after I left the control room, I was told I had to have a spine surgery.
Mm.
I had a double spine surgery within a year, 2 surgeries. It resulted in chronic migraines and then now my hip. And it was just you feel that darkness of like, "Where do I go? What do I do?" And I decided to be the producer and say, "What do I have?"
Yeah.
And I'm gonna produce my own life, and that seems like what you did. You
Oh, yeah.
produced it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
This
I've
is
done that
it.
with the majority of my life, coming up
Mhm.
in trauma and still producing my own life and what I decided to take from it and not holding anyone hostage for my healing or no one being it my healing is not contingent upon anyone else. It's not contingent upon my parents being accountable or begging for forgiveness or walking on eggshells. My experiences have been specifically surrounded around me and I have produced how I decided to navigate through my life, and that's with resilience.
And producing how you show up is one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on this show
Oh, thank you.
because I've talked about you to clients. I've brought you up on my social media. What's great about your Instagram, your TikTok, is that you have a very consistent way of being present,
Yeah.
and it's this hand motion, right? Like how did you start decide? Like what was it that made you say, I'm doing this. I'm gonna start bringing people in. I'm gonna build a community around this.
You know what, Jamie? I don't even know why I started doing that. I think for me, it was like, "You know what, girl? Come on, we gotta talk." You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
you know how I talk to my girlfriends when we get together or we get on the phone. I'm like, "Girl, we need to talk." And we kinda do
Uh-huh.
this hand thing like, "Come on, let's talk about it." And I think that's what I started doing and not even consciously realizing that's what I was doing until
Mhm.
I started seeing the traction from the videos and people were saying, "I love when you say that." I sit up and I take notice, or it's like you're talking to me specifically. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even realize that was giving that type of impact or that
Yeah.
feeling. And now I can't get away from it. And then
No.
he even started saying, like, stop. Cause I used to say, hey, girl, just bring it on in. And men would be messaging me and comment like, well, what about men? Why do you only say women? So I would be like,
Mm.
hey, y'all. So that's why I started saying, hey, y'all, bring it on in because there are some men that are part of the platform as well, even if they're secretly watching, but sometimes they message me and they say like, "You always say, 'Hey, girl,' but, hey, I'm here too." And I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I hear you." So then that's why I switched it up to, "Hey, y'all, I never intended for it to be this long-term thing, but it has resonated with so many." And even when I was interviewed for the Wall Street Journal, the journalist said the same thing, and she was like, "When you say that, I automatically sit up and I wanna listen to
Yeah.
what you wanna hear." And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So I had no idea. I did not wanna be front facing of the camera. I never did. I never wanted to. I wanted to do my little podcast and sit behind that
Audio only.
audio only. I was literally having anxiety about YouTube because, you have so many nasty people that are online and they feel like
Mhm.
they can say all these things with autonomy. And I was really having panic attacks around that. Even though I publicly speak, I would speak at work to different I work for companies that are out of the country in Europe. So I would be speaking to big company platforms, and never did I imagine doing this. And I still
Mm.
get nervous. I still get really nervous when I speak,
Mhm.
when I do these clips. That's why I make them very quick and short. Plus, I got menopause, girl, and you forget shit all the
You're
time,
like, "I can't." Well,
right?
how do you figure out your daily topics? Like, do you have a routine?
Um, No, my routine consists of me. I can't sleep at night. This came to my mind, so let me put it in my notes. My routine consists of I was brushing my teeth and I'm like, ooh, I was
Hmm.
thinking about that. Let me put that in my notes and revisit it. Or I'm doing my makeup and my vanity and I'm like, oh, okay. Like this came up. Or I see something. It could be on television or a conversation that I had with my husband or a girlfriend or, someone, or I've seen something. I'm like, oh, wow, this needs to be something that I talk about. And I'll just kind of put it in my notes and I'll go back to it and kind of elaborate on what that topic may have come up. But there's no me sitting down on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays doing outlines and scripts. It's this came to my mind. Oh, I'm on a plane or a flight.
Mhm.
And now let me put this in my notes and then I'm going to do this once I land or when I get back home. Yeah.
Mhm. And as, for everyone listening, as you're hearing, it may not be, the routine that you're used to, like batch recording
Yeah.
but it is a routine.
Yeah.
You're coming up with ideas, you're writing them down, you're
Yeah.
deciding when's time to record them, and then you're doing it.
But the moment Christy started telling her side of the story, people were kind of like, you know what I'm saying? My platform speaks similar to hers on behalf of the parent because parents are suffering in silence. And when children become estranged, they are celebrated, they're supported, people rally behind them. But when a mother decides to go no contact with her child, she's demonized.
Mhm.
And
Well,
that's been my experience.
You made the decision to go no contact. Why with your son?
My son he's caused me verbal, emotional, physical trauma and financial trauma for over 15 years now.
Mm.
mm,
And you just decided enough.
2 years ago, he threatened my husband and myself, and I made a conscious decision that was the last straw.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because he didn't get his way.
He didn't get his way.
Yeah.
And has he respected the no contact?
No.
He has not.
No, he has not. He sends threats that if we don't unblock him, he just threatened my husband yesterday as I got off a flight.
Yeah.
Saying if we don't unblock him, if I don't speak to him, he's going to do some harm to us.
Wow.
So that's been my experience. And
So, you're on Oprah, it's powerful. Like, how did that come about?
well, first of all, I get emotional every time
Yeah.
I see that. That was crazy. And all I can say, and this may sound really strange to some other people, but I think I manifested that. I have written down that I was gonna be on Oprah in my book, my journal a while, and then I dreamed I was walking out in my Harpo Studios. How it came about, ironically, I don't check my DMs very often anymore because I get so many messages. And it's not that I don't want to address all of them, but I had to start protecting my mental well-being and just not absorb
Yeah.
so much of that all the time. Um, and they had sent me a direct message. I totally missed it because I hadn't checked it. And then under one of my other posts, under another clip, one of the producers was like, "Hey Kendall, I sent you a DM. I want to know if you'd be interested in going to Oprah." And I was like, who is this? This is some BS because, I get some BS stuff all the time. And then I go and I go check her out, Google, LinkedIn, all these things. And I'm like, okay, she really does work for our productions. And I message her back and I'm like, hey, I would definitely be interested to hear some more, hear more about it. Here's my number. And we got on a call. She interviewed me, kind of asked me what my situation was, what my story was, gave her the cliff notes about what had taken place and what brought me to this space of no contact with my 30-year-old son and it being a difficult decision. And she was like, okay, we're going to run it by the team. And if they want to move forward, can you be in New York quickly? And I was like, sure. And that was, I think, like on a Thursday. By Friday, she was like, we want to bring you on. They reached back out to me. We want to bring you on. They want you on the show. They kind of ran through it. And I was on calls, for the next couple of days, signed the NDA, of course. And I was on a flight on November 11th, headed to New York to meet Oprah Winfrey and bring awareness to the topic from my side of the story, and also to try to bring awareness and advocate for the parents, because of course the conversation I felt was more centered around estranged adult children, as most of the conversations are. And some of them have very valid reason to be estranged, but there was no conversation around me. And social media did exactly what I said it would do to moms when someone comes and says that they've gone no contact with their child. And that was demonize me.
It really was one of those moments. I remember when we saw each other at the podcasting event, I was like, I can't believe it. Like, that's a dream that people have, is that
Yeah.
moment. But what you did is exactly what I tell people to do. You need to be showing up before you want the media.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be real if you want to be known, right? Relevant. You need to share that expertise, that lived experience.
Yeah.
You need to align with your audience and become likable. And you do all that with your content. And that's why, to me, it was like, that's a clear win. They probably were following you for a while and then starting to figure out, well, how do I pitch her?
That's a good call out, Jamie, because I've always wondered, because I am very direct and I'm talking about this on the opposite side that most don't want to hear. And I'm always wondering, like, are media companies kind of looking at this? Like, how do we package this up? How do we be able to have this conversation with her? So, yeah, that's a good call out. You just confirmed something for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't realize, but if you are showing up, guys, I'm saying it to you now. If you're showing up, you're sharing your point of view, and you're doing what she's doing, you can ultimately start attracting people in the media who are thinking, this person may be worth booking. I got to figure out a story idea. I'm going to follow her and I'm going to see what she talks about. And when something hits, I'm going to say, let's pitch her. They could be following you right now. Media visibility can really increase your community trust and help seeking behavior, by up to 45% in underrepresented advocacy spaces. So by you showing up personally, Kendall, you're bringing awareness, you're building an audience, you're building engagement, and you're making yourself the expert within your niche. So to me, as someone in the media, I would say you're in. Like, you are the expert. I want you on my show. So I'm glad you got recognized. I also wanted to share that USA Today headline. Let me get this video because it was so good. I'm going to pull it up. You were on USA Today on the front page.
Crazy.
I'm like, so guys, we saw each other at Mom 2. Then I'm like going through her Oprah stuff, preparing for the YouTube for this, interview podcast. And then I see this. Let me add the volume. I'll take it off because it's music. But what happened? So you were going to the airport and you started to see yourself on USA Today front pages? Like, tell us what happened.
Okay, so after Oprah happened, I was in Wall Street Journal. Like, I was in the Wall Street Journal, right? But this evolved from Moms 2.0. Like you said, we saw each other in Austin. I was part of a panel for content creators at Moms 2.0, and there was someone from USA Today in the audience. Had no clue. Of course, we don't know who's in the audience, right? And she had already quoted something that I said around motherhood and the different experiences. So she said, oh, yeah, she messaged me again, missed it, DM. And she said, I saw your Moms 2.0. I quoted you in in the USA Today. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, send me the link. Let me take a look at it. And then she's like, I would really like to interview you also for the Mother's Day weekend edition. And I was like, okay, cool. Again, she sends me a link after we do the interview. She says, I have to reach out to your son. Perfectly fine. Send her the last contact information that I have for him. And she contacts me. I think I was in the airport, and she texts me that morning and she said, the link is live. And I was like, oh, cool. I was super excited about that. And then she said, also, you're going to be front page. And I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Front page, USA Today. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I was so blown away. So I'm in the Delta line, the Sky Club, when she's
Yeah.
texting me, and you'll see my son, he's interviewing me like, Mom, how do you feel? And I hadn't even seen it yet. I hadn't even grabbed the actual paper yet. We were just talking about the link in the article and the fact that she had just texted me. And she said, hey, if you can't find one, let me know. I'll try to find one and send it to you. So I
Wow.
Google, like, hey, where are newspapers sold in Atlanta airport?
Yeah.
And
Like,
we go
where are
to-
they anymore?
Right, and we go to one of the stores, and it was one copy left. There
Wow.
was one copy left in that store that I went into in Atlanta. And then when we landed in LAX, there was like 2 or 3 left. And then in Reno, because we had connections, same thing. And then when we got back on to go back home, Salt Lake City had like 2 copies left. So I grabbed up the last 2.
I mean, I'd be buying them all too.
Yeah, I had like 3.
I don't know how you
Like,
don't.
I gotta
Oh my
frame it.
gosh.
I gotta frame it. I was like flabbergasted. I'm like, I'm still in shock that happened.
So what I love about all this is you were posting
Mhm.
and you earned press.
Yeah.
You don't have a PR firm, right?
Oh, I was like, well, why are firms not contacting me yet? But no, I don't. It's just
And
me.
you landed not only freaking Oprah,
Yeah.
but Wall Street Journal and USA Today as a cover.
Is that something a PR
So
person would normally do for you?
that's something a PR person would normally do. But my belief is that if you are showing up and you're making yourself more known within your niche,
Yeah.
you can earn press. And you're a living example of what I tell people all the time. And
Wow.
that's what I just absolutely love about your story is like you are putting yourself out there. You are becoming the expert. You are sharing your point of view, and it is bringing you press.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I love it. It's like surreal.
I was like, I told my husband, it's funny you mentioned that last week. And I'm like, damn, like, why hasn't, other people have PR people. There were people at the Oprah show, like some of the estranged kids, they had public relations people, like they were sitting next to me. And I'm like, I don't have a PR person. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just me. It's just me.
Mhm. And I mean, if you get hungry and you want more press, like
Yeah.
you should hire a PR firm, right?
Yeah.
But if you're getting it without,
Yeah.
ride it out. And right
Mhm.
now with those 3 wins, I'm curious, like, has it helped change the conversation at all for you online? Has
Mhm.
it brought you more clients or more book sales? Or have you seen any return that you're like, wow, this is different than it was before the press? Or no, mostly the same?
I'm gonna be completely honest, and that's a conversation that I have with my husband often too, because you don't want to compare, but you see other people and they're like blowing up, selling all these books, and they're doing all
Mhm.
these tours. Like I get invitations, but they're not solid invitations. Like I did just have a major speaking engagement, like I said, at Minute Spaces in Lake Tahoe. Josh Coleman was there. Raquel Hopkins, the capacity expert, who's a popular therapist online right now, Rachel Hack. Those were the top therapists that were there. And those are some big names right now
And you're with them.
in the therapy industry. And then there was an evening with Kendall, like an entire evening that was centered around me coming in with my same, hey, y'all, bring it on in type of, and I told him when I came in, like, hey, I'm the girlfriend that you call after therapy. And now we're going to have some conversation because it's been heavy, it's been emotional. But to answer your question, not as much as I thought would happen.
Mhm.
And I also recognize that things happen in aligned timing. And I try
Mhm.
to keep that mindset, although I have to admit sometimes it is like, why didn't my book, sell even more? Like
Mhm.
everything's been on my own. Like I've sold over 7,000 copies of my book before the Oprah, before, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, I assumed that when Oprah, the Wall Street Journal, and all these other things, that things were really, really going to pick up as it related to that. And in all honesty, I have not seen that. I've seen more people join my platform, but even with that, it's not like saw an exponential, like, oh, it went from 107,000 on Instagram to like now it's 2 million. Like
Mhm.
I haven't seen that growth.
Yeah. And that's like a great transparent reality because a lot of people assume like once you get press, you suddenly start getting money and business. And it doesn't always work that way. But what this press does is having those legitimizers will now make you more um, you'll become more interesting to the media.
Mhm.
You'll be seen more as an expert on stories. And now as a speaker, you can increase your fees.
Mhm.
I'm going to coach you for a second. I would take that USA Today label, like the
Yeah.
logo, Oprah,
Yeah.
if you haven't already, Wall Street Journal, I would put it on a speaker page on your website.
Yep.
Like, I am
Done.
recognized by these names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a video of me speaking in a night with Kendall,
Yeah.
and contact me for a free call so we could talk about my rates.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're gonna leverage the media. And
Yeah.
for those listening, it's same for you. You want those legitimizers, but it's not so much of like, yes, I'm getting book
Yeah.
sales.
No.
It's more, I'm getting the authority building.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
definitely.
then you could sell books from stage.
Right. Exactly, because I definitely did that in Lake Tahoe. But so, that was a blessing, and you're absolutely right, and I have done that. Like, I've changed my banner on my website with
Good.
those proof of who I am and what I have done and who I've been engaged with or featured in and featured on. So that was
Mhm.
for one. And I do have the expectation that those things are going to start happening. And maybe it's
Mhm.
slowly going to happen, and then when it does, it's gonna be like, "Whoa." You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And that's the thing. And here, guys, here's her website. I did see you got new photos
I did.
and her podcast. I'll make sure to have a link to that in the description, as well as a link to her website, and her TikTok and Instagram. So we'll make sure we have all the links down there so you can connect with Kendall. But
Yeah,
like, I think you're on that what is it called? Like you're
so
coming out of the valley.
okay.
Like, when you're unknown,
Yeah,
you're still going, but now you're on that like, "Oh, I'm starting to become known."
yeah,
And it can really do wonders for your career. It may be time to like relaunch your book even, like
yeah,
because then you can essentially then start marketing it to bestseller lists.
mhm,
You take it off Amazon, you then relaunch it. You
mhm,
can then do a big push to try and get more sales for it and have like another opportunity at a bestseller list. And that could
yep,
also then potentially bring you more opportunity. There's a lot of things that you can do right now. And that's what I'm so glad you could be here, because our audience is all about trying to figure out how to go from unknown to known. And
yeah,
you're on that journey and you're doing it. And it just goes to show, if you do it right, you don't need to hire a publicist. You don't need to invest in that.
yeah,
But by doing that, you'll just essentially be able to get more,
yeah,
more, more, more.
yeah,
And that's what you have to be ready for if you want that investment.
absolutely.
I want to make sure that we talk about, the topic that you focus on with your advocacy.
Mhm,
And, I I don't, personally, I have 2 young kids,
okay,
12 and 13, and one of my concerns is my son. I'm always worried about my son. He's such a dear little boy, like, love him, he's my baby.
mhm,
But I feel like there's this point in a boy's life where they go from your mama's boy
mhm,
to now I don't want anything to do with you.
mhm.
So, what advice or thoughts do you have for parents, who might be raising a young boy right now and are like, I don't want to, like, what could I do differently? Like, was there something that you tell people? You're like, if I did it again, I would have tried this.
Mm.
Maybe I would have cut him off sooner or something. What do you tell your audience?
I would tell my audience that I wouldn't have enabled as much. I think
Mm,
because I was a single mom, I was a divorced mom, I feel like I enabled both of my sons because I felt like I was the only person that they had because they couldn't go to a dad. They couldn't, you know what I'm saying?
mhm,
So I was always trying to fix things that I did not necessarily break. And I would tell any parent that sometimes you think you're doing the right thing by doing too much or giving too much or being there all the time or getting them out of a situation that they've gotten themselves in. And a lot of times it's not necessarily beneficial to them. And it's
mhm.
definitely not beneficial to you. That's one thing I would tell. The second thing I would say, you can do everything you possibly can well as a parent and something can still change because we don't have control over human beings. They have their own autonomy. And you raise your kids in a way that you want them to have their own autonomy over themselves, over their way of thinking. It's our responsibility to lead them and guide them that never goes away even when they become adults. But I just think that people do the best that they can. And it's not an excuse to say, oh, well, I did the best that I could. No, some people have done a damn good job. Like, I'm
Mhm.
confident that I did a really good job, but I know that I have to be accountable for enabling. I know I have to be accountable for trying to fix everything. And again, because I felt like it was my responsibility because they didn't really have their dads that they could go to. So they were always coming to me. And it became exhausting in all honesty. And I think parents need to be, especially mothers, mothers need to be extremely honest about that.
Mhm. Yeah, it is
It's
exhausting.
exhausting when someone is constantly relying on you for every single thing. And I think we just do it like a robot and we just move through it and go through the motions. And it's not until when your kids become adults and when your house gets quiet that you sit down and you're like, and
Mhm.
sometimes you still don't get that. I still didn't get that even with them being adults for a very long time. I think again, me being diagnosed, me taking this hard stance, and to answer your question, yes, I probably should have cut him off a long time ago. But
Yeah.
because I was the only thing he had, the only one he had. And I love my sons dearly, unconditionally. But I put up and I tolerate a lot of harmful behaviors for a very, very long time.
I think, a lot of boy moms
Mhm.
can relate to that. My own son, he's great, right? I love him. But I have those moments where I'm like, I think I'm doing too much for him.
Mhm.
And my daughter will say like, "You're easy on him. You need to be harder on him." And it's like, "Oh, you even see it."
Yeah.
So there are those moments where we all need to reflect on our parenting, on how we communicate. And it's really good that you're bringing advocacy and awareness to this so that more moms feel empowered to
Right.
do so.
Yeah.
If you could sit across from the version of you before the platforms, before all the press,
Mhm.
before the visibility, what would you say to her?
I would tell her to be prepared.
Mm,
I would tell her to stick to her truth. I don't go to bed at night wondering if something I posted is bullshit and if somebody's gonna find me.
Mhm.
People were searching, trying to find all kind of information on me. They were looking for my son. They were reaching out to my older son, trying to dig up dirt on me and all these different type of things. I don't lose any sleep because I show up as myself on these apps and off these apps. I may curse
Mhm.
a little bit or I may cuss a lot more. However, I am me at all times and I rest in that. So I would tell her to be strong, be prepared for what's going to happen. I would tell her that all the things that you've gone through from being a little girl up into this moment has prepared you for a time such as this. You may
Mm.
not understand it. It may not feel good. You may have to be stronger than you want to be all the time. Um, but it's preparing you for a time such as this. I would tell her to forgive herself. And Raquel Hopkins asked me this question when I was
Mm.
on our podcast. What would you say to your younger self, that 17-year-old teenage mom? And and initially I said, girl, you did a damn good job. Like you still accomplished things. It may have gotten put to the side or, pushed back for a little bit long, but you still got the degrees. You still did the company. You still worked in corporate America. Like you still did all of those things. But I was thinking about something when I was brushing my teeth this morning and I said, damn, I should have said, I forgive you for choosing or allowing the wrong people,
Mm.
loving them so much because you felt abandonment yourself.
ooh, yeah.
That is what I would forgive her for. And I was like, damn, why didn't I say that? But I didn't think about it at the time.
Mhm.
I would forgive myself for loving people who didn't reciprocate the same and took my love and my loyalty for granted because of my abandonment for my own father and my own experiences. It led me down that road to tolerate a lot of low vibrational relationships, not just partners, but friendships and, so many different things, loving people very hardly. And I would be like, trust your intuition. My
Mm.
intuition and my dreams have never stood me wrong. I've just ignored them for a long time when I was younger. But if I could tell little K what big K knows right now, she would have been okay. And she is
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Now that's really powerful because, so many of us, we have children
Yeah,
and we put our dreams aside
absolutely.
or we change our dreams and what we need to do for them. And it's a good reminder to remind yourself
Mhm.
that you were meant to do other things and you need to be okay with doing those things too, right? It's all about accepting, right? And encouraging her to be okay with the flaws, right? I love that. Mm.
Yeah.
So, before we go, I would love for you to just tell us more about your community and what is that? What do you do for people and how does this all work?
Yeah, so of course, I have platforms on social media as far as YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And I just provide these clips that give women strategies and to have them think about things a little bit differently. I think moms sometimes are weak. We're really weak for our children and they're our kryptonite, right? Um and I think some moms are weaker than other moms and it's no judgment. It's just apparent with me being in this space. And I think for me
Mhm.
because I've gone through so much and I'm using my pain as my purpose, I speak from a more powerful place or a more empowered place. And I think either people really love that and it encourages them and pushes them to become empowered, or it
Mhm.
rubs people the wrong way, or they feel judged because they're not on that level. And everybody's on their own journey. But my goal is never to coddle. My goal is never for moms to sit in this space of heartbreak all the time. I have women that say, I've been heartbroken for 20 years. And I'm like, girl, it is beyond time to move forward and start to heal forward. So, my overall goal on these platforms is to heal moms, give them guidance towards healing, for them to no longer suffer in silence, for them to definitely be empowered, and for me to bring advocacy and awareness to parental abuse, which is my experience that pushed me to estrangement, and also matricide and parasite, which is something that's not discussed very often.
No, I mean I don't think it is.
Yeah.
And what's great about social media is you start to see different points of view that
Mhm.
you didn't really know before.
Yeah.
Like as a journalist, you always went with what was readily available, what was resonating at the higher level.
Yeah.
But social, it just digs into things in little pockets that you never even thought of.
Yeah.
It's so incredible to see your growth and how you relate and connect with people there. I really wish you all the best. I'm so glad we could do this and share your story
Thank you.
and experience this conversation together because I've learned so much just from this. And you've also given me, as a mother, reminders. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm so glad we got to do this as well. And thank you so much for having me.